and friends, colleagues, and millions watching online. We've come to the quarterfinals. One of these teams are going to go through to the semis on Wednesday. And as we said yesterday, the other team will come back stronger next year. No one goes home. We've got one more judge to come in, so until she comes in, let's go through the rules and the regulations and the introductions. So just to take you through the rules, I think both teams have debated 3 rounds. You're familiar with the rules, but for formalities, let me take you through some of the key points. Each team member will get 5 minutes for their speech. We keep reiterating this, stick to time. Now you're in the quarterfinals. If anyone goes over the 6th minute mark, the bell will continuously ring. He loves doing that. Yesterday he had the pleasure of doing it one time and you should have seen the smile on his face. And so don't give him that pleasure. Try and stick to that 5 minutes because that would mean that you would also lose out on marks. And every single mark is going to matter because we've got 2 top teams in the quarters. There is no second chance now. Now it's knockout. So it's a do or die situation. So timing, keep in mind 5 minutes. Start ending your speech. Don't end it abruptly as well. Gradually use that 1 minute grace to slowly bring it to a close. At the end of the whole round, the captain of the opposing team will then have 6 minutes, followed by the captain of the proposing team who will have the last word in this debate. Don't you love proposing just for that reason? Having the last word. In terms of ethics, the code of conduct, please behave in a respectful and courteous manner towards the participants, guests, sponsors, and the public. Abide by the rules of the country, rules and guidelines set by CIPM, and very specifically make sure that you speak loud and clear well into the mic. One thing I'd like to request both teams is the moment one speaker finishes and the judges take a moment to mark the next speaker who will be speaking. Please stand up, make sure that the mic is adjusted so that you're comfortable by the time your time starts. Then start off. The timing will start the moment you say your first word. So be comfortable. Don't start if you're not sure. Any adjustment, do all of that and start because that will matter to you. Right? Take that time. Speak loudly and clearly. If you have any visual representation of anything that needs to be seen by the judges, judges will mark you on what they can see and what they can hear. Make sure that it is very clear. For the purpose of this debate, we are discussing pay for performance. Let's keep commercial bank out of it and let's keep ESOFT out of it. Right? So no quoting the company or no, not even saying, let's say for example in the case of commercial, one particular leading bank in the country said that's also not allowed. Or one educational institute said that's also not allowed. Right? So let's keep any reference to either organization totally out of the debate. Please also be mindful of comments that you make in terms of DEI and all other ethical areas. Crosstalk among members is prohibited. Please make sure that you don't discuss anything whilst the speaker is speaking. If you need to pass a message, post-it note or little note, pass it down. Request the members of the audience also not to move or walk out of the room during the debate or while somebody is talking. If you really need to go for any urgent matters, please wait until one speaker finishes and then we may come. Right, so with that, let me now go into the introduction of the 2 teams and the panel of judges. To introduce the panel of judges, we have with us Professor Arosha Adhikaram, Senior Professor, Department of HRM at University of Colombo. Shall we give a round of applause? word of advice to both teams: the louder you clap, who knows? We also have with us 𝐶𝐮𝐵𝐿 Director Chakuldathan Sate. A round of applause. Yeah, proud. Now it's okay. And, to come in, we have Ms. Davina Kern, Group People Officer at Para Holdings. She will be in a minute. Till then, we have Mr. 𝐒𝐫𝐴𝐧𝐚𝐫𝐤, Director Human Resources, 𝐒𝐫𝐵's Consumer Brands. Welcome. And Professor A. Sarvaneswaran, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Law at University of Colombo. Welcome. Two teams today. We have proposing the topic, weighing act, an undisclosed number due to data privacy regulations. The proposing team, let's give a round of applause to ESOFT Retro Campus. Since you all are not marking the clap, please listen. And opposing the topic is the winners of the inaugural debate way back in 2009, weighing at a combined weight of the gain and undisclosed number due to data privacy regulations. We have Commercial Bank of Ceylon. Let's give them a round of applause as well. Right, so with that, Professor, what do we do? In a minute, do we start? Right, so substitute that in case. We are ready with the rules and regulations. Teams are ready. Proposing team, are you ready to start? Opposing team, you are ready to start? Good to go. Quarterfinals, we are ready to go. Yesterday we had approximately 940 people short of making 1,000 online visitors. Nevertheless, we do have people joining both on YouTube as well as Facebook. If you have friends, this would be the time to just tell them to join as well. Mobile phones will be prohibited during the. So let's put that away and let's get ready to start. Let me call upon the captain of the proposing team to present her case. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, esteemed panel members, my well-deserved opponents, and the audience. We are here to stand firmly on our aspect of talking about linking pay directly to performance encourage unhealthy competition over collaboration. So, in fact, we argue this extremely straightforward approach which is detrimental to the environment of unhealthy rivalry, which the allure of this intensifying individual achievement that the opposing team might come up with, let me tell you that it might be a breeding ground for unhealthy competition. So what actually is this topic about? Pay. Any form of monetary compensation received by an employee from the employer according to Frank and Hartman 2012. Performance. According to Mappable 2022 as well as Alim Kulai 2023. In HRM, performance refers to the degree which employee fulfills its duties and regulations. In layman terms, the KPIs. There are task-related KPIs as well as behavior-related KPIs. Competition, something you gain or lose, better or comparative to another person, and when does this become unhealthy? According to 𝐅𝐢𝐧𝐚𝐫𝐿 and curriculum 2023, unhealthy workplace competition focused on outshining colleagues rather than contributing to collective goals, potentially leading to consequences like stress, burnout, damaged relationships, intense pressure, cutthroat competition, long working hours, and then collaboration. In workplaces, collaboration is about individuals working together, sharing knowledge, and using diverse skills to achieve common goals. Our stance is not just about linking pay to performance. Our stance is about unhealthy competition and collaboration. Two continuums, two sides. How are you to link pay to that? So, let me speak. My salary is the reward for services rendered, not the driving force. As a result, our key arguments will be based on the HR approach, the intrinsic motivation, the real-world context, and the work culture. HR at workplace. So I have a wonderful team of HR. The opponents directly linking pay to performance might paint this picture of this meritocratic utopia, where achievers are justly rewarded, equally provided. But then, let's talk about this fact. How would narrow focus be when you have a managerial prerogative, an indeterminate contract when you're initially recruiting? Your pay is initially determined by your recruiter based on the way you pitch, and then the goal congruence, and then setting the KPI. Now for the HR, a small question. How about pay being the primary driver for onboarding, for retention, for motivating, and now even the reason for them to leave? Now we are asking that to be a part for collaboration. The pay, which is always the ghost in the room inside your HR department, is now a part for collaboration as well. So that is where we built our stand. So in a workplace, starting from insurance industries, education industries, conglomerates to different areas, we always have this salesperson to bring. Eat what you kill sales environments. The star performer culture that's there always on all franchises, the gaming systems, and the unintended consequences where winner take it all. And the dog-eat-dog performance management strategy, which is highly competitive. And let me talk about right now the silo mentality. Right now, organizations, service organizations, which consist more than 70% of almost entire global business enterprises, have the problem of innovation and knowledge sharing. Will there be a Scala chain where your pay leads to performance, and that will lead to team incentives, teams to give that exact idea to every other department to collaborate? We are not talking about a socialist equal aspect. We are talking about an unhealthy competition that will lead. That is why leading companies always stay best performing, and those small and medium enterprises want. That is something that we have to talk about. And then, moving ahead, intrinsic motivation. So, in case you thought pay would be leading towards motivation, let me talk you about and walk you through what intrinsic and extrinsic motivation is about. So, don't chase your salary. Chase the skill, the salary will follow. So, erosion of trust. If I take you towards statistics, so research articles, according to Aarhus University 2019, performance-based pay. What has happened right now? The employees have been going towards taking anxiety and depression medication just because performance-based pay has been a reason for them. So that, and the next thing, when it comes to the Journal of Management Studies, they come up with 60% felt anxious about the performance evaluations, and 70% rather would go through mental health support rather than a pay increase. So, if that is how are you to achieve motivation? And then the motivation crowding effect. So, what we stand here is when pay becomes the primary focus, employees may see collaboration as a mean to an end, rather than valuing the inherent benefits of teamwork, potentially leading to a superficial or even a manipulative collaborative behavior. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll give a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. call upon the captain of the opposing team to present his case. Over to you, sir.
Imagine a world where everyone gets paid the same, no matter how hard they work. Now the visionary, the lazy, the bold, the average, they all get the same pay. So whether you sprint or crawl, that's how everything starts to fail. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished judges, in this world, of course, this motion tries to sell you where everyone ends up just being average. Now therefore, I stand against the motion linking pay directly to performance encourages unhealthy competition over collaboration. Now they will tell you that competition is unhealthy, but we ask, unhealthy for whom? Those who are unwilling to rise up? Those who are really afraid of being measured? Come on. So because if there is no competition, there is no incentive. If there is no incentive, there is no innovation. So collaboration is something like this. Well, it's not a critical or threat to performance-based pay. What we can say is it's really sharpened by it. So because in the real world, they cooperate. The best cooperate to give and survive. So ladies and gentlemen, let me define the topic. The Academy to Innovate HR defines pay for performance as the compensation strategy that rewards employees based on their work results. Now, instead of receiving a fixed salary, ladies and gentlemen, when you receive a bonus, when you receive something for your performance, well, other pays, of course, incentives, well, you get motivated. So it will really help you out. And the next is the healthy competition. Well, from the HR perspective, healthy competition is the motivational force that enhances individual and organizational performance. Now, according to Michael Armstrong, effective performance related can foster a culture with high performance. And also the Society for HRM has also stated that if you have such a competition, a healthy competition, well managed ethically, you can boost innovation and morale by maintaining the team's unity. Well, let's consider about the third word, the collaboration. Now, Dr. Heidi K. Gardner, a renowned expert in collaboration from the Harvard Law School, she states that practice of professionals working across boundaries, whether departmental, hierarchical, or organizational, to integrate diverse expertise and perspectives. So that's how she explains it. And the other thing is promote. Well, from the Oxford Dictionary, I took a simple definition, that is, it encourages something. So how does this performance really hit the pay? Now that's the question. Come on. As per the insights from D. Brown, the reward management systems has 3 drivers, which one is performance. And then as per the insights from Michael Armstrong, the pay is categorized into, in reward management chapter 44, they are categorized into pay determination, base pay management, contingent pay, performance related pay, and profit share. Now, a survey report from 2024, Pay, Performance and Transparently from CIPD, which is Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, states 60% of the organizations link bonuses or basic pay to some form of performance assessment. And also, in supporting for that, once again, the AIHR, which establishes that top performing 81% of companies is also doing really great with a healthy competition. Well, this is from the Harvard Business Review, which I took from before. That is by an article by Tim Lowe in 2018. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when something is measurable, what can we add? Value, right? So link the pay to performance is a good way. And if the performance is managed properly, of course, it will create healthy competition and collaboration. Now, how can we really measure this performance? Well, we have 360 feedback, management by objectives, key performance indicators, performance improvement plans, and goal setting theory according to the HR performance management. So healthy competition with the proper management of performance, I see that's the best you can get. So let me give you a very famous example. I think all of you know about the Apollo program. In NASA, in 1960s or 70s, the US space, they implemented the high goal-driven performance management culture. Now this led the engineers as well as contractors to link together and really give a mission. Now the mission was to go out of space So healthy competition between the internal teams within NASA as well as the external contractors like North American Aviation, Grumman outperformed each other and really gave a result. Now what was the result? It said that KPI, also the history of the reports from Apollo program states that KPI and management by objective performance management systems were used in this era. So the successful moon landing in 1969, ladies and gentlemen, wasn't a victory of science. It was a result of performance driven with healthy competition, collaboration, goal alignment, and a clear reward structure. So if competition is so unhealthy, tell me why every advancement in human history from the moon landing to the smartphone in your pocket was born out of people who want to really be better than the rest. So not to tear each other apart, but to lift us all. So I stand with our topic. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. Now call upon the second speaker of the proposing team to present their case, and toward you.
Good evening, respected judges, my dear opposition team, and the audience. Today, we take a strong stand to prove that linking pay directly to performance encourages unhealthy competition over collaboration. I think the first speaker forgot the word directly. We never said that linking performance to pay is a bad thing. That is not what we are saying. We are saying rather than linking it directly, there are a lot of other concerns that you have to be mindful about. Let me start by a little statistic. A study published in the Harvard Business Review said that organizations who implement a pay-to-performance method often see about a 40% increase in unhealthy competition within organization, which seriously damage the team effort that they have. When there is unhealthy competition, of course, there are lesser and lesser opportunities for collaboration. So, if we link pay directly to performance, then of course it may be advantageous in the short run. But if you consider the cost that you have to incur in the long run, they are comparatively massive. For example, let me take you back to the early 20th century. When Frederick Taylor introduced the concept of scientific management, it heavily emphasized on efficiency and productivity. So where the pay was directly always linked to the output of the worker using piece rate systems. So in this era, the financial incentives were the main motivator. But now we are in the 21st century. This is the century of the knowledge worker who are contributing massively to the development of our economy. So a knowledge worker is a thinker, innovator, and a trailblazer. So for that kind of a worker, if you always try to motivate this particular employee only always linking their performance only to the pay, then it is going to be a problem. Because for this kind of knowledge worker, you need to take a holistic approach and give them opportunities always for empowerment, career progression, and better work integration. The importance of collaboration over unhealthy competition. Let me take our debate team for example. Now, when we are practicing for these debates, we never practice individually. We always practice as a team and prepare as a team. So, we share our views and discuss and practice together. So, in that kind of situation, for example, let's say we collaborated rather than just talking about who is better than the other. If CIPM said for this debate, rather than making sure that in your team, one particular team member is also going to get a particular cash prize, say for the best speaker, then the story is going to be different. Then we will be arguing or just trying to prove that individually we are better than the team. That's the same thing happens in organization. Another point I want to mention is that when you make sure that your performance is always linked, kind of heavily dependent on these, some organizations are heavily dependent on high performing individuals. So it will create issues in succession planning also, because normally we see these high performing individuals, sometimes they are reluctant to share the knowledge and the know-how they have within themselves and pass that on to the other team members, because they think that the knowledge and the know-how they possess, that's what going to help them to make sure that they remain as high performers. So the HR is going to have another set of issues. These high-performing employees sometimes making this dependency as a kind of a reward for them, and they will try to make sure that they are demanding more pay and more opportunities from the HR also. And let us not forget about the many disasters that have happened in different organizations, because most of the organizations were prioritizing pay for performance method. If you look at the Enron scandal in 2001 and Wells Fargo banking scandal in 2016, and also most recently Latham & Watkins law firm scandal this year. So if you try to find the root cause for all these issues that stemmed in this organization, we can trace it back to a situation where there was a propensity to make sure that the performance is always linked to pay. So these employees were, rather than doing the right thing, they were always trying to beat each other to the top without doing the correct thing. And also, let's not forget about the Gen Z who has just entered the workforce, the new entrance to the workforce. So they have watched millennials normally burn out most of the time, performing and thinking that they will be kind of contributing to the pay raise. But Gen Z is not going to do that. They want to make sure that they do meaningful work, but they don't want the work to entirely consume their life. So this pay for performance always is not going to be working with them. Also, if you look at a lot of even Sri Lankan companies such as MAS, SLT, they're always talking about a very collaborative culture. And even the global examples such as Pixar, Airbnb, Google, Hewlett-Packard, they are also making sure that they encourage collaborative cultures. So we need to make sure that that is the trend in the current situation, and we need to make sure that all the organizations are going towards that. So we take a stand and saying that linking pay related to performance is kind of encouraging unhealthy competition over collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll take a moment for the judges to finalize this course. Call for the second speaker of the opposing team to present the case.
Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. What gets measured get managed, especially when rewards are tied to the results. Peter Drucker, management consultant and author, said this reflects the core principles of performance-based pay system. When people know that they are rewarded for their performance, it drives motivation, competition, and always accountability. Let me elaborate on 4 points to prove this. Number 1, healthy competition and performance-based pay. Edmund Lazille in year 2000 in American Economic Review found that introducing performance-based pay significantly increased productivity and attracted higher performing employees. Due to this, benchmarks for excellence will be set when peers and beyond average, sparking a healthy competition with employee well-being. This supports the idea to pay performance system stimulate healthy competition. This is proven that the productivity is increased by 50%, and this tool can be seen in People's Insurance Company in Sri Lanka and also Netflix. My number 2 point is collaboration in performance management. Boris Groisberg and Michael Slin said, It was published in Harvard Business Review. Leadership is conversation. Explains performance management should promote two-way communication and collaboration, which can be supported by team-based incentives. Management by objectives tool could be used for this. This shows how performance is linked to pay, can encourage collaboration and healthy competition by shared goals. Brandix Apparel in Sri Lanka uses this tool for their employees. Transparency and measurability is the point number 3. A research by Teresa Amabile and Kramer in 2011 in Harvard Business Review states that motivation flourishes in environment when employees see progress and recognize through performance rewards. When goals are transparent and always set in line with goal setting and SMART goals, performance management tool is key performance indicators. It is measurable in line with KPI. Competition becomes healthy. Yes, I assure that performance is measurable through performance models as stated by Captain. This is further proved in IT companies in Sri Lanka and Microsoft. The fourth point is incentive promoting learning and development. When there is a learning culture and peer supports and well integrated with performance management tools, performance improvement plan, that tool will ensure there is less chance for unhealthy competition. Peter Capelli and Anna Travis in 2016 published in Harvard Business Review that the companies like Adobe and General Electric shifted towards ongoing feedback and performance linked incentives to promote healthy competition among their members and their well-being. When they are continuous, transparent, becoming healthy competition is evident forever. This is proven in Unilever and Haileys, the biggest companies in Sri Lanka. My dear members in the audience, have you heard Expectancy Theory of Motivation by Victor Viru? In 1964, he endorsed that the employees are motivated and they believe their efforts are taken into consideration and their performance and rewards widely performed by pay systems. They are encouraged. My dear members of the audience, I will say linking pay directly to performance can drive motivation, accountability and result-oriented culture when implemented fairly and transparently. This is more visible in Gen Z workforce. Gen Z workforce who values impact, inclusion and well-being. Performance-linked pay can support both healthy and collaboration in a healthy and productive manner. Therefore, I stand firmly. Linking pay directly to performance promotes healthy competition and collaboration. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you, and let's give the judges a moment to finalize the scores. Call upon the third speaker of the proposing team to present her argument. Over to you.
Good evening, esteemed judge panel and my opposition team. As a proposition,
we strongly believe that linking pay directly to performance encourages unhealthy competition over collaboration. Why are we saying that? In basic layman terms, why do we need to compete in the first place? Are you going to run a race and are you going to think, okay, all my fellow athletes, we shall work together and we shall fight this competition, and are we going to win the race together? Of course not. Why are you competing? Because you want to win the competition, right? Now don't come up and say participation is important rather than competing. If that is your mindset, you better not go for the competition in the first place, right? And why are we saying that unhealthy competition is bad when you link it to the performance? Is because end of the day, right? Why do you need a pay? Of course, for your own survival, right? Why you're going to work? Of course, to get a pay, right? But just imagine the first day. Go back to the first day where you faced your interview, right? You are going to a new company. You don't know what the culture is. You don't know whom are you going to work with, right? You face the interview, you get the job, and then you start working on your first day, right? So as soon as you start working, you have to interact with your colleagues. You're going to get into a new culture where your colleagues are going to help you to sort of adapt to this new working culture. They will mentor you. They will be accountable for you, right? They're going to help you to get adjusted to this new working culture. But then let's say after 3 months, after 6 months, after a year, according to the usual way at which by the time you're going to get a bonus, the company is going to tell, we are going to link your pay according to how you perform, right? So, obviously, in that point also, are you going to think, I am going to get together with all my colleagues and my teammates, let us all thrive together and get a good pay. According to our first speaker, he mentioned that everyone has to get paid the same. So if everybody has to get paid the same, right, why do you need to have different job roles? Why do you need to have different JDs, right? So if everybody needs to get an equal pay, and if you are linking the performance with the pay rate, right, so then what is going to be the importance of that particular individual, right? So then, if pay, which is the basic salary, which is the bonus, which are the incentives, if you are going to link that with the performance, and performance itself is going to be measured by KPIs, key performance indicators, which can be measurable ones based on the job description, and also there are behavioral values. So if you have the mindset that if you need to perform extremely well, I'm not saying that you have to go to a job, sit and wait and not do work. You definitely have to perform. So why can't you perform anyways, right? And then can't you have, according to the second speaker, she mentioned that we can come up with performance improvement tools. So can't the organization anyways give performance improvement tools and not relate it to your salary? They can do that. Why? So the main motive is everybody in the company, you have to perform well. Why are we doing that? Because we are going to one main goal. All employees in a particular organization, you have to think of the organizational success and not your personal well-being. All right? And then moving on, it was also noted that we firmly stand and say unhealthy competition, you cannot have a healthy competition and collaborate at the same time. So when you have the possibility of actually collaborating, why do you need to have a healthy competition? You don't have to compete anyways, right? You can collaborate and work together for the same goal, all right? And then moving on, it was also noted that you can implement robust performance systems. But when the employee know that your pay, the salary which you are getting by the end of the month is directly linked to your performance, are you not going to manipulate your matrix? Are you not going to thrive and come forward better than your other colleague? Of course, if you know that your pay is directly linked to your performance, definitely you are going to perform better than the other person. You can't tell that you're going to collectively and do that. Even then comes the point, okay, you're going to have a team, your entire team is going to be given a proper KPI, you have to work according to that. Then comes the problem. In an organization, are we only having one team? Of course not. We have many teams. We have to work with inter-departments as well. So collectively, if you have the mindset, my pay, the salary I'm getting at the end of the month is directly linked to my performance, I have to thrive and work harder. So why do we have to encourage that your pay is directly linked to performance? You can have other aspects, right? And then also moving on, it was also mentioned that the best corporate will survive, and they are not like, no matter who you are going to work there, Everybody has to have the thrive to survive in a corporate sector. If you don't have that, anyways you don't go and work somewhere. And also it was noted that innovations, the smartphones and traveling to the moon, that was not because of healthy competition. That was because all the scientists and astronauts, they came up with the innovative ideas and they established that, right? And also we are coming back to our stance. We believe that when you link your pay to the performance, be it the individual performance, be it the team performance, that is going to lead to unhealthy competition because you can't compete and collaborate at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll give the judges a moment to finalize the scores.
Respected judges, my proposing team, ladies and gentlemen. Today's topic, I think you have misunderstood the topic actually. Now, today's topic is linked pay for performance promotes healthy competition and collaboration, right? Healthy competition, you are talking about the competition. Where is the competition? There is a winning team, there is a winning individual, there is a winning organization, right? So in order to measure those things, our stand is, what is your measurement to measure those things that you say? That's what the pay comes into first, where the pay measurements. Now, we have already analyzed 360 view analysis and management for theory and the KPIs. Everything matters, my dear friends, because we need to measure someone's performance in order to measure, and that strive is performance and give rewards. So how can you give the rewards without any measurement? Just come out on that. And my first speaker from the proposing team, she said she is not working for the company, for the driving force is not for the salaries and bonuses. I'm really wondering, in 21st century, you are a great employee in the 20th century, because there is, according to the research of according to the research of Harvard Business Review 2017, it says most managers agree that the question of the motivate them is the pay value. The offering employees performance based on incentives and pay is the best approach, right? So we are not saying, actually we are not strict about the salaried employee. So just think about an employee who is actually working as a team member and is working as a workforce in the sales team. So he's given a small basic salary, and according to the sales he's doing, so he's getting the incentive and commissions. So according to the pay, he's getting, according to this performance only, he's getting the performance pay. So if it is not, there is no scale, so there won't be any competition with it. So I'm not saying that competition is only referred to only individuals, even the groups, right? There are several departments in an organization where the departments and the units also been given some sort of KPIs. So they have the common goals to drive their organization and their units, and they are just going towards the organizational goals. So that's what there is a collaboration comes in within the organization, where it actually means the pay for performance. It comes to pay where you for an example, you see that there are 50 members in a sales force. There are 10 members are top performers and there are average workers. So what happens? The top performers' performance can be overshadowed by the other, and the average worker will not be performing and is not coming out innovative thinking and is not promoting in the sales, and they are not coming out the motivational factors. So in that case, if there is a pay to scale these performances, then the person who gets this performance pay will motivate themselves in order to move forward. So the speaker was speaking about extrinsic motivation. Now, according to the theory, it says it's outcomes that results only doing by the task, promotions, pay issues, and bonuses, benefits, and prizes and winning. So we are talking about, according to the research, it says 19% of these organizations are really important. They give an importance of the extrinsic values, because the payment is matters, because the employee stands in the organization because of the payment. So for an example, if you take organization hierarchy, there is a top management, middle management, and lower management. So do you think that all these management are given the same salary? And would you think, or practical example, when you join a company as a trainee, right? If you are getting the same salary as you are getting now, so will you be any motivation? Will you be any motivation to thrive to that promotion? Because since you also doing the same, and the fellow who is doing the same, you are getting the same salary, there is no transparency, and you are not getting any promotions. You are not going to thrive towards promotions, right? And according to the second speaker, it says, we are not talking about the debate competition. It's a pay in an organization where the good top worker who is not actually concerned by the organization, sometimes if he sees that the same scale is being given by another organization, this person can move from the company, and this person can move over from the company. So there will be so much of turnover of the organization from. So there is a competition, because if there is a good pay, that particular employee will stand in the company for long. So that's what we actually stand in our motion, saying that this structure is very much important, because we are not talking about anything. Because we are talking in very facts and referring to the measurement, right? And there is a measurement, there is a matrix, and there is a tool, mechanism, and theories which says that pay is the best mechanism to have healthy competition in an organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's take a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. Call upon the fourth speaker of the proposing team to present a case. Over to you, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the House, before I move into the crux of my rebuttals at hand today, let me start off with an analogy in terms of what the topic is really about. So, ladies and gentlemen, on side proposition, we are here to propose you that linking pay directly to performance encourages unhealthy competition over collaboration. Why? Ladies and gentlemen, take an example from the nature itself. Take a group of ants, right? Now, when it comes to these ants, like they have this usual practice of going for a sugar jar, and like whoever gets the sugar, they have the habit of collectively distributing it among themselves and eating it out. However, one day from the colony of ants, the queen suggests that whoever collects the most amount of sugar is going to get a separate reward. So in such a situation, the moment that is dropped on the table, ladies and gentlemen, the once collective bunch of ants are going to step on each other's lines. They are going to come up with all sorts of propaganda, all sorts of politics, where they will be engaged in an exercise which is completely devoid of moral values, in the hunt, in the obsession, in order to go for this particular reward that side opposition is talking about. So in that context, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that when it comes to directly like linking pay to performance, we believe that it encourages unhealthy competition. Why? Because in this context, on-site opposition, what they are suggesting is a completely frivolous argument which is devoid of any values at all, where at the end of the day, the people in an organization are pushed into a particular point where they have to stoop so low, even against their conscience, where they are so pressured to engage in all these malpractices just for the sake of getting a reward, just for the sake of getting a pay at the end of the day. And also, ladies and gentlemen, moving on, side opposition also seems to have a very misconceived idea of this whole idea of pay itself, because they are just saying that when it comes to this idea of pay being directly related to performance encourages collaboration. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, when it comes to this whole idea of pay, okay, fine, so on-site proposition, we are here to tell you that this is not just about the pay, irrespective of the bonuses or the incentives, because our model is a much more holistic approach, where we talk about different mentorship opportunities, where we talk about different exposures, and also tactics such as experiential rewards as well, and where the employees are also engaged in key decision-making processes because of their performance, where they just don't have to rely on the salary alone. So in that context, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the opposition has completely misunderstood the payroll, because they are they are restricting this whole idea of HR into a whole machine where they just have to look into the payment aspect, and where there is no proper culture, where there is no proper incentives that push the employees who are performing in an organization to actually end up in collaboration at the end of the day. And also, ladies and gentlemen, they were also talking a lot about this idea of measuring performance. Now, when it comes to this idea of measuring performance, let me bring your attention back to this concept of stack ranking, okay? So when it comes to stack ranking, that is where the managers must sort employees into different categories, such as top performers as well as average and low performers. So ladies and gentlemen, in such a context where we have low performers, we have these low performers driven by a fear of culture, like a culture of fear because of the verge of losing their jobs, because of the realization that they are going to be low performers, which is specifically what happened to corporations like Microsoft, where like Microsoft has the culture, the stack performance culture in Microsoft was identified as the most destructive culture, where most employees had the pressure to get kicked out. And also at the same time, moving into cases such as the Wells Fargo case, ladies and gentlemen, so they had aggressive sales quotas and compensation structures. And because of these structures, right, so the employees were pushed into positions where they had to engage in frequent fraudulent practices, where they had to show different numbers in terms of the sales targets that they have achieved. And also where they had to actually, they had to open fake accounts as well to show, okay, so we have this customer base, and where this whole customer information was completely misguided. Why were they pushed into such a pressurized situation completely devoid of values? And where Wells Fargo, the company itself, had to pay compensation for the very employees because of the damage that they have caused. Why? Because because of stack performances and measuring initiatives as such, where pay was directly encouraged, and which resulted in unhealthy competition, right? And also at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, now they also seem to be very fixated on this idea that once you get paid properly, that is such a motivation, okay? But ladies and gentlemen, take the case of take the suicide case by the company 𝐼𝐬𝐴, right? So this was a situation where an employee committed suicide even when he was getting paid well, right? Because the statistics actually show you that this happened in a particular context where 𝐼𝐬𝐴 was considering pegging down the salaries to $1, but still the employee has committed suicide because of work stress. So ladies and gentlemen, that brings the question once again to the audience in terms of the fact that is pay the only yardstick? Are we going to raise people without any values, extremely selfish people who think it is all about just getting paid and then getting performance at the end of the day? And in such context, ladies and gentlemen, we strongly believe that linking pay directly to performance encourages unhealthy competition over collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. Call upon the fourth speaker of the opposing team to present a case, and then over to you.
Esteemed judges, fellow debaters, and the audience, let's get one thing straight. We are not talking about, actually our opponents are really misled, because we are not talking about an individual performance here. You kept on speaking about individual performance, but you have forgotten that you were referring to KPIs. But KPIs is not just individual KPIs. Like, it's not an individual performance matrix. There's the team KPI. For example, let's say all the individual KPIs are given to you. The key performance indicators are given to you. You are working towards a company goal, an organizational goal. So if all of the team members have to collaborate, they have to perform in order to get your performance pay, right? And let me get to the fourth speaker's argument. She was actually talking about, she took an example out of how ants are, competing with each other. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk about that because it's a different kind of emotional intelligence between ants and humans. So I would rather skip that. And you were also, fourth speaker was also saying that we have, we have thought performance is a machine, right? No, we have not thought as such, because I think you are forgetting things like in these performance-based pay systems are not just there to find the metric. For example, KPI is a metric, but if you say it's not like how many emails you send for a day, it's how many successful emails you have sent at the end of the day. Companies like Google, I have a statistic here. Google uses a goal setting system like OKR, that's objectives and key results, very similar to KPIs. And in 2020 internal review showed that 75% of employees felt more motivated, and 60% said that they collaborated more effectively when objectives were shared across teams. So the thing is, whatever the system that is being used have to be transparent, have to be fair. And you were talking about the stress. Stress doesn't come only because your employer has linked your pay to your performance. Stress comes out from there are many reasons. It could be psychological, it could be individual, according to the individual. And if you are saying that when the pay is linked to the performance, there are stress, I do totally disagree, because there are systems, performance measuring systems like PIP, performance improvement plans. What they really do in that is they address the issues the employees has in performance, related to performance. So they create a specific goal, they give a timeline, they do regular check-ins, and they support the employee to improve themselves. So it is not, if you consider a performance-based system as a punitive action, of course then you will get stressed, but it is not there to give you a punishment. It is to measure your performance. When it's implemented strategically and with transparency, people have to know what objectives that they have to run for, because when they do that, the best person come out of themselves. If I take an example, another system, 360-degree evaluation, that is, I'm so sure that you must be aware of it, but it's a performance feedback system where you get feedback from multiple sources like managers, peers, your subordinates. So how it works is like this. You get your self-assessment, and then a feedback rate is being asked from all these other parties. So you will be rated by them according to your leadership skills, your communication, your teamwork, your accountability, and your emotional intelligence. That's how you work with other people. So it's basically not your technical skills, your emotional intelligence is also being evaluated, as well as your professional qualifications or your skills. So you will have to think how beneficial, how effective it is if that person is being evaluated for that person's skills. And if you were saying that we should not be using any system, everybody should be paid equally. So then would anybody have this is actually, this is a motivator. When the motivation is there, for example, you know when you go to work, you know that your efforts are being rewarded. So that is a very strong motivation, and it enhances overall productivity. To say that how much of a strong motivator that is, I would like to quote Incentive Motivation and Workplace Performance Study. It showed that 22% of the individuals clearly said that they improve their performance, and 44% when team-based incentives were used. Okay, let me summarize everything now, because my time is up. Like when you link your pay to performance, it's like you're giving a Wi-Fi to your ambition. You get more motivated and you get connected with people and you work towards common goal, or you get connected with the whole community. That means you're working towards collaboration, and it creates a healthy competition if you implement the right strategies when you're evaluating your performances. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've now heard from all four speakers. We will in a moment commence the summarizing by the captains. The opposition captain will now have 6 minutes to summarize and then it will be followed by the proposing captain. All this talk of ends, and I see 3-4 ends on our table as well, I just hope it's not part of the debate. As judges finalize the scores, we will now call upon the captain of the opposing team to summarize the debate. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Every organization has a vision and a mission, ladies and gentlemen. Well, starting with ants, of course, they have a vision and a mission to survive. They have different teams. Now, madam, I think your knowledge about ants is really low. Come on, they have workers, they have soldiers, they have everything. So each team has a different task and they are being trained for that. Only that collaboration will make them survive. Now, give up the ants. Let's go into the organizations. Well, of course, as we said, the first speaker, second speaker, and the third speaker, well, brought a point saying that performance for pay undermines teamwork. Well, of course, poorly distanced performance management system does it. Just like you brought examples where suicide cases came in. And just let me introduce the 360. Of course, when you have a 360, everyone will give you a proper evaluation of yourself. And then let me bring out the KPI. Of course, when we set these goals, now in this KPI, when you are given goals, these goals should be, or the objectives should be really smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So once you have been set with a really clear goal, which is more practical, of course, all are working to that. And now then, of course, what we think, like you say, it's an unhealthy competition, cutthroats are coming, this is coming, that is coming. But let me tell you, when there is a pay system, according to Michael Armstrong, I would say, there are payments with bands, right? So when Michael Armstrong had introduced the pay system, there is a band, like for one grade, you have a lowest pay and a highest pay. So this system is being used in different companies like well-known banks, Dialog, everyone uses the same, especially Brandix. So my dear proposition, what I want to say is, like through these bands, there will be a top performer will get a good salary, and the others, if they are below average, there will be PIP systems, right? They will be used to bring this person above average. So trainings will be conducted. Now this is all about ethics. Come on, if you are not ethical enough, right? You can't really work at a place. And when we consider about this, first speaker once again said that unethical behavior was promoted. Let me bring you an example. Theresa Mabel and Stephen Kramer in Harvard Business Review showed that intrinsic motivation and fair recognition flourish when progress is visible and are aligned with meaningful goals. Now the strategy which is being implemented, that should have the full responsibility of the employee. So if they are, so definitely the pay is directed to performance. So once performance is manageable and when it is countable, of course it's very easy to link the pay, and that will really bring the competition on. Now come on, if there's a top performer, right? When you give a 360 evaluation, of course I want to be like that person, because this is so open-minded, right? Everybody is getting stuff, everybody is getting the feedback, so it's really open-minded. So that will really help, and it will really promote and help the others to collaborate and come. Now collaboration, of course, we are not talking about the individual persons in a team. That can be either departmental, hierarchical, as I said in my introduction, and organizational. Well, in order to organize, in order an organization to get on a mission, towards a vision, they have to work collaboratively. So, for example, a sales team, just imagine they are selling something. So you should have HR, you should have sales. So this is a common practice, that's why I am using. And so the HR will do the HR part very well. So, and the sales will do the sales part very well. And the accountants, they will keep the finances cool, so the company sustains. So when they do their each task, this will collectively, the collaboration quality is enhanced. Well, let me bring out that our proposition team told that creates a toxic environment. Well, this was to be specific with the first speaker. Well, madam, it does not create, if it is implemented strategically. So I see that linking pay directly to performance creates and promotes healthy competition. Why? Still, do you have a doubt? So So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, for that create toxic environment, I have an example. Like Unilever blends reward the leadership development and peer feedback, especially through 360, promoting both excellence and cohesion, and also the management by objectives. Come on, this is a very common theory which is being used. So management by objectives is you and your management or the manager in front of you sit together, talk with you, what can you achieve, and give a really smart goal or smart objective who you can really achieve during a time-bound period. So that doesn't make people stress when you are in town. Because of course stress, most reasons are 80% is can't manage time. So when you have time-bound objectives, of course I don't think that's a big problem. And yeah, you say there are manipulations are there. The third speaker said that there are manipulations. Of course, I think, well, now this is the 21st era. Everything is like almost digitalized. So when the performance systems to measure the proper performance is being very, like you can have cybersecurity systems and all to protect them. I'm not going to talk about the cybersecurity side here. But if you have that proper and a very system, now we are not handwriting the KPIs now. We are just feeding it to the system. Most like 65% of the global world, according to the Global Business Review, they are using these systems. And they all have this digitalized platform. So the errors, or which you call even the fractional errors, it's really hard to believe that those things can happen. And I would like to say that the second speaker spoke about succession and the fourth speaker supported it. Of course, I would like to bring out and support to this. Peter Drucker emphasizes that what gets measured gets managed. So if innovation is measured, it will be rewarded. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me wrap this up to you. The performance, if it's measurable, then linking the pay directly to it really helps the organization to survive, because it really creates the healthy environment as well as the collaboration. Without those two, of course, we can't. It's not about trampling and discriminating people around you. It's about you performing well and then the other person will try to get to your place. What a motivation. That's how you succeed. Welcome to the modern HR world. Please accept it, and the technology is with you. And I would like to end with a quote, because when performance matters, people rise, and when people rise, organization roar. So I stand firmly with my topic. Linking pay directly to performance promotes healthy competition and collaboration.
Thank you very much. We'll take a moment for the judges to finalize. Finalize the debate, I now call upon the captain of the proposing team to present their case. Madam, over to you.
In any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. So I know it has been very delicate and subtle, and it has been very utopian. I'm sorry I could not find a proper model, but in case what they said was of a proper employee, it would be ethical, it would be good, it would be very motivated and very selfless. However, let me bring out key areas. The first speaker, you're supposed to provide you what are the exact arguments that you're talking about. And I know that people have been talking about KPIs. How about the behavioral side? The behavioral side of KPIs cannot be exactly determined by pay. And then let me come towards the second speaker talking about pay for transparency. So pay and fairness, according to the report by Hartman and Splanker 2012, we'll talk about research validity later on. We are usually taking the recent 10-year statistics. So you should be focused on procedural justice and distributional justice. And how would just determining pay determine that? And as you've suggested, it is only going to be team-based, not individual. And then moving forward, talking about the Harvard Business Review, you told about the dark sides of incentives. How about the destroying of cooperation? Our talk is not about linking pay to performance. Our talk is about when we link pay to performance, it will create unhealthy competition. What is unhealthy? What will you even disclose your pay sheet to the person sitting next to you? and then think about it. That is unhealthy. And then one side, that's unhealthy, the other side, that's collaboration. Linking that up is what we are trying to build, what we are trying to state. And then moving forward, talking about different people from different career areas. I'm sorry to tell this model and teach you this, but people, salaries are for physiological needs, the lowest level, right? And then when you climb up the ladder, there will be non-pay determinants that's supposed to be there. Talk facts, not thoughts. And then about the social comparison. I know room was brought up. How about you compare? There might be upward comparisons and downward comparisons. What about negative effects and you start to pull the leg of your immediate person sitting next to you? And then there was this discussion about the 360 and then you said payment is there. How many of our leaders and immediate supervisors will be determined the pay part only? And thank God, our HR does not only consider 360 only at the purview of pay. And then talking about personal salaries, as there's an academic panel of members over there, I would definitely respect you for all the knowledge contribution you've done, and the pay does not determine that. And that is why you've collaborated. And that is why there is unhealthy competition in case pay is brought to the table. And then moving on, talking about the team-based performance, you did your own well, right? So you're talking about, how about a branch network? Can we keep the same performance incentives, team-based performances, and think this is going to be ethical? What about non-disclosures? How would you enhance that application of discussing the transparency part? Will you say, okay, my team is performing well. What about HR have 5 members and the finance have 8? Are you going to provide the same incentive of pay and then move forward? So then, let me go into one of the statistics. A great place to work. Thank God they did not talk about pay as the only factor. So here, they mentioned that workplace culture leads to motivated workforce. Your culture should be something. It's not just about pay. And that's what we've been speaking about. And then moving forward with Towers and Watson, what we have been building up is leadership, visionary aspects, genuine interest, recognitions, clear communication, respect, all should be there on board. And if not, it will be unethical. It will not be going to lead to a healthy competition. Then moving forward, when we talk about emotional intelligence, how are you to determine that from a pay KPI? Coming back, how you handle your conflict is depending on your leadership style, based on research. And then at that point, I would suggest and I would lay Arthur. So there might be so many data and all, but let's focus on the critical and the often overlooked consequences. Pay is not the only determinant that will lead you towards collaboration. There are so many areas more. Give your employees recognition, give your employees the empowerment, provide them career progression, provide a healthy work environment. You see that. You've been bringing up Unilever to every other organization. What did they give? They gave better workplace. They gave better leadership. They gave better opportunities. That is where healthy competition happens. That is where healthy competition happens, and that is not directly related to pay. That is where you messed up. And then coming back to our discussion, think about employees readily breaking through the idea to giving a colleague the competitive edge of an idea. This disincentivizes the very behavior. How about the collaborative spirit? We are social creatures and our work thrives on connections and shared purpose. Do you think just because I stayed at one organization for a long period of years and I just got one performance, I'll be given that exact pay? What about networking? What about my pay based on my behavioral and attitudinal changes? And you were bringing up this idea that organizations, employees, they are never stressed at work. What about work-life balance? How many of you would consider that? Will pay determine that? So you all have to come up with the idea that pay does not directly link to the performance. And let us try for compensation models as what we suggest and recognize both individual contribution that you told that it's not necessary, the power of working together, fostering a working environment where shared success will lift all boats. Let me wind it up saying, talent win games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships, and we aren't just motivated by pay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been told that there will be a debate immediately starting now, and that debate will be done by the panel of judges who, just like the ants, they will go marching one by one to the other room, deliberate and come back with the decision. So let's give them a moment to finalize the scores, debate it out and come back with the decision. Until then, let's give both teams a huge round of applause for a fantastic debate. Encourage you to stay on, feel free to socialize, mingle, don't fight, debate is done now, and we'll await the judges. Right, we've come to the end of the first or the third debate of the quarterfinals, the first for today, and we have the panel of judges back. Let me hand over to Ms. Lily Well-Delegate to share some feedback and then share the results. Sorry, and Professor Avashad Karam.
Yes, I think maybe we need to thank both teams for your efforts because it is to go through a lot of data, you need to find some relevant information. What we observed is sometimes, like there is deviation from the topic. Let's say you all basically collected a lot of data, but some teams, of course, like were not sticking. There were a lot of points, but not sticking to the topic. Right? So that's the kind of area of improvement, always trying to, and also to have a story, right? Because have a kind of theme, like how you're going to approach it. So those are the improvement areas. So with that, maybe I will request you to,
So the winners, as it has been said, the team that goes to the next round is what I'll be announcing. So it will be commercial bank of Ceylon.
Thank you, panel of judges, and let's give a big round of applause to the two teams. First to the proposing team, ESOFT, and also to the winning team today, Commercial Bank. Thank you once again to both teams, and as Professor said, one team goes on to the semi-finals, but the other team comes back stronger next year. Be proud, you've done well, you were unbeaten in the initial rounds, you've come to the quarters. Only one team can go forward, but you've done a fantastic job. So let's give another round of applause to ESOFT. And Commercial, I hope you will stick around and watch the next debate, because that's who you will probably face in the series. Right, with that, let's give CIPM a minute or two to quickly set up for the second debate as we await the two teams, Sampath Bank and DIMO, are already here. Once they set up, we will commence. Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen to the second debate of the day, the fourth of the quarterfinals, the final one to decide which team will now go into the semis on Wednesday. For this debate we have two teams. We have with us proposing today Sampath Bank. Let's give them a round of applause. And opposing the topic today is DIMO PLC. Let's give them a round of applause as well. To take you through initially the rules, I believe both teams have debated on 3 rounds, so you are familiar, but let me just touch on a few points just to keep in mind. Number 1, in terms of the timing, each debater will have 5 minutes, and the captain then will have 6 minutes to summarize. The timing starts the moment you say the first word. I would like to request the debaters, once one person finishes speaking and whilst the judges are marking, for the next speaker to stand up, make sure that the mic is to your preference and you're ready to go as soon as the judges finish marking. Take time to make sure that you're comfortable in your position and then start off. The captains will then have 6 minutes. Again, in both cases, at the end of the 5 minutes and the 6 minutes, the bell will ring. 15 seconds immediately after it will ring again up to the 6th minute, and at the 6th minute he will continue to ring the bell, which is what he is waiting to do. Don't give him that opportunity. In terms of code of conduct, please be respectful. Whilst we tend to be very passionate about arguments, be respectful to your opponents, the audience and the community at large. Abide by the laws of the country. Politics we don't need to mention because the elections are over, but unless anyone has aspirations to become a politician, please don't use this as a stage for sale. Crosstalk amongst members is prohibited. Should you wish to pass on something, please do pass a note. And very specifically, I think we stress on this point on all debates, please do not quote your opponent's organization at any point for any examples, which means DIMO should not be using Sampath Bank or a leading bank in Sri Lanka or any of the advertisements in any of your examples, and Sampath Bank should not use DIMOs or a representative of a German manufacturer or anything of the sort during any of their examples. So let's keep it clean. Let's make sure that we respect both organizations, because the debate here is on the topic and not the view of the organization. To introduce the panel of judges, we have Professor 𝐼𝐧𝐚𝐫𝐿. She is the Senior Professor, Department of HRM at the University of Colombo. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We also have with us Ms. Davina, Group Chief People Officer of Heller Apparel. Round of applause. Ms. 𝐶𝐮𝐵𝐿, Director, Chatudha Consulting. Round of applause for her as well. Professor A. Sarveswaran, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Law at University of Colombo. Round of applause as well. And last but not least, 𝐒𝐩𝐚𝐫𝐿, Director, Human Resources, 𝐒𝐈𝐧𝐻 Consumer Brands. Round of applause as well. Right, so with that being done, we are ready to start the second debate. Proposing team, are you ready? Opposing team, are you ready? Right, then let's get ready to rumble. With that, hand over to the captain of the proposing team to present his argument. Over to you, sir.
We are living in an era where people are attending online meetings while lying on the bed, reply to emails while cooking in their kitchens, and sometimes even work with their cameras off and on Netflix on the background. Welcome to the modern workplace where the flexibility is king, but discipline, well, it's on sick leave. This is not just my opinion, it was clearly stated in this New York Times newspaper. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, honorable panel of judges, respected fellow debaters and audience. We are here in this conference room with the simple truth, and that is workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectations. As per the debating norms, it is proposing team's captain's duty to define the keywords. Therefore, let me quickly define the keywords as per the Cambridge Dictionary. Number 1, workplace flexibility. This means allowing employees to choose how, when, and sometimes where they work. It includes flexible working hours, relaxed dress codes, casual cultures, and work from anywhere policies, and even freedom in task management. Number 2, employee discipline refers to employees' ability to follow rules, show professionalism, be punctual, and stay accountable. Number 3, employee expectations are the assumptions, intentions, and actions that staff members expect from their employees. And finally, and most importantly, the word eroded refers to slowly broken down or worn away. Now, considering these definitions, the question is, has workplace flexibility eroded employee discipline or expectations? Yes, our position is clear. Workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectations. To make our case more clear, I will lay down the foundation, and my second speaker will explain how the workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectations, and my third speaker will further elaborate same with the real-world examples, and my fourth speaker will nullify all the points that opposing team will emphasize. The opposing team wants you to believe that workplace flexibility has not eroded employee discipline and expectations. But if it is true, number 1, why, as per this Harvard Business Review article year 2022 clearly stated that workplace flexibility has resulted in decreased accountability, broken routines, and inconsistent professionalism? Number 2, why, as per this Stanford University study, clearly emphasized that including flexible workplace flexibility, including flexible working hours, resulted in increased missed deadlines, lack of communication, and poor time management? Number 3, why, as per this Gallup Workplace Report year 2023, has clearly emphasized that workplace flexibility environment is creating that excuse culture, arriving late, leave early, and skip tasks, and all under the same tag of I am working on my own way. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not just my opinions and my personal assumptions. These are real, research-backed insight from globally accepted organizations. We as proposing team strongly believe that structure and accountability is essential to any workplace. But today's version of flexibility, which includes not only flexible working hours, but casual cultures, relaxed dress codes, and freedom in task management, has employed close to ambiguity in roles and performance expectations. Number 2, reduced accountability, decline in professional standards, and lack of employee development, which ultimately leads to the erosion of employee discipline and expectations. Therefore, our position is clear. Workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll take a moment for judges to finalize the scores. Now call upon the captain of the opposing team to present his argument. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Today we are asked to believe that workplace flexibility, an amazing model that successful organizations all across the world are using, has somehow deteriorated or eroded discipline and shattered expectations. That's just ridiculous, that's nonsense. We say no, we completely deny what the proposition has to say. And we disagree completely. Now, flexibility hasn't eroded anything. It has just evolved how we work. And in many cases, it has elevated how we look at discipline and how we look at expectations like the 9 to 5 could never do. I think the proposition captain came up with an example, replying to emails while sleeping and doing something while cooking. What is discipline? Is coming at 8:55 a.m. and warming a seat till 5 p.m. discipline? This has no problem with discipline. They can cook and do the work. They can lie on their bed and reply to an email as long as the work gets done and they don't harm anybody else. Now, what is discipline? It is not about coming at 8:55 and going at 5. It is about taking accountability. It is about meeting deadlines. It is about delivering back to back regardless of where you're working from and how you're doing the work. We argue that flexibility is not the enemy of discipline. Flexibility is actually the ultimate test of it. The proposing captain defined the 3 elements of the discussion, but I like to go into a little detail because this is an HR debate. So workplace flexibility needs to be taken not simply from a standard English dictionary, though it is right. It is not wrong to take from a standard English dictionary, but it is far more appropriate to also look at other HR bodies and look at what they say, though they are not very different from what they said. Embraces the idea that employees workplace flexibility, embraces the idea that employees can be productive no matter when or where they perform their work, essentially accommodating the employees' out-of-work commitments while delivering expected results as coined by Great Place to Work and CIPD. Now, they also go in to provide an exhaustive list of flexible workplace options, which we've clubbed into 5 categories, which will be the focus for today's discussion. Flexible scheduling, hours, location, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, they explained it too. There are 2 more, flexible paid time off, which is unlimited leave regardless of a quota that you're bothered by. Flexible positions, where 2 people work part-time, and the role is delivered full-time. So they share the roles. And with that, I also like to take a little bit of a peep into employee discipline. Refers to a condition in the organization when employees conduct themselves in accordance with the organization's rules and standards of acceptable behavior as defined by Human Resource Management Personnel 2009 by OPAT. Now, employee discipline also is in place to ensure uniform direction for behavior and performance. Now going into employee expectations. These are the things that employees simply expect from a workplace, team, or the role that they're given, and they're usually the basis for employee satisfaction or dissatisfaction as defined by politics. Now, the interesting study, Employee Expectations, Psychological Perspective, the Forbes HR Council, and of course, Indeed, vastly describe the several areas all employee expectations will fall into. Clear communications, recognition, appreciation, career development, resources and training, work-life balance, fair compensation, respect, workplace safety and security. Now, these are the flexible work options, flexible working, and this is the expectations that employees have. These are the scope of today's discussion, and these are the options. These are the employee expectations people have. So I'll make it easy for you, easier space for your brain. I'm going to knock off everything that is irrelevant. So the only thing that remains is work-life balance. We will go on to scientifically and statistically prove that the only employee expectation that is impacted by flexible options is work-life balance. Throughout our discussion, our team will go into absolute detail to show you how that happens, and that takes us to the model for today's discussion. Now, look at the model. It's a very, very simple model which establishes a principal argument for the day. Workplace flexibility satisfies employee expectation by improving work-life balance. We will go into detail about showing that. I will make an early start. The rest of my team will go into absolute depth to show you how it happens and then prove it to you. Along with, when that expectation of work-life balance is met, it leads to job satisfaction. So, meeting work-life balance will take you to job satisfaction. When job satisfaction is achieved, people find a sense of fulfillment. If you're satisfied, you have a lot of fulfillment, and the chance of you following the rules and being disciplined is far more than the others. Self-discipline stops being enforced. Discipline stops being enforced and it becomes self-driven. Though these may be obvious, we will go into point by point. As we build our case, our team will prove this statistically and through research that this happens. So, when workplace flexibility means work-life balance, you get job satisfaction drives discipline, and then to say that workplace flexibility actually erodes employee discipline expectations is just ridiculous. That is unacceptable. So what does all this mean? Workforce flexibility or workplace flexibility does not erode discipline, it doesn't also erode expectations. So what does a proposition have to do? You can talk about any element of erosion. You can talk about discipline being eroded or expectations being eroded, but you've got to make sure all sorts of erosion that you're talking about has to be only associated to workplace flexibility. If you fail to do so, your motion tonight fails. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and we'll take a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. Call upon the second speaker of the proposing team to present a case. Over to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine an employee who rolls over bed at 10 a.m., opens their laptop in their pajamas, and ignores the mails for half of the day, and joins the meetings with their cameras turned off, and also logs off early, all in the name of flexibility. This is not a fiction. This is a workplace reality where flexibility, when left unchecked, has created. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly why we believe that workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectations. Our first speaker clearly stated that discipline is not just about rules, it's about consistency, professionalism, and accountability. These qualities formed the backbone of the traditional workplace, but today, flexibility has blurred those boundaries. Employees are now working irregular hours, replying to emails whenever they feel like doing so, and disengaging from workplace culture or team culture. This isn't evolution, it's erosion. And ladies and gentlemen, the opposition team leader says that flexibility has improved employee satisfaction and that it has promoted autonomy and trust. We don't disagree that flexibility has its own benefits, but autonomy without accountability leads to chaos. In fact, Microsoft's 2022 Work Trade Index says that 85% of managers find it hard to believe whether employees, when they're working remotely, are actually contributing or they're actually being productive while working remotely. This is not just a perception problem, it's a performance issue. Now let me move on to my first point, which is how flexibility has undermined daily discipline and work structure. Ladies and gentlemen, when people work in offices, they have fixed working hours, they have regular check-ins, and they have clear routines. And this structure helps them stay motivated and stay focused and stay disciplined, ladies and gentlemen. But with flexible working hours, these routines are gone. And many workers now struggle to stay focused, stay motivated, and even especially stay disciplined. This decline is supported by Bloom's expansive theory of motivation, which clearly shows that motivation drops when employees no longer see clear link between their effort, performance, and rewards. In remote or highly flexible settings, this connection weakens. Feedback is delayed, goals are unclear, and rewards often feel scattered. This is also backed by From Control to Commitment in the Workplace HR module by Richard E. Walton, which clearly mentions that flexibility removes control structure like supervision and schedules, but often fails to replace them with strong commitment, stored values, motivation, or culture. Without either, discipline becomes optional, not expected. And also, this even major studies like Buffer's 2023 report says over 25% of remote workers have reported struggling with motivation. This isn't just a side effect of flexibility. This is a direct consequence of a system that no longer reinforces discipline. Now let me tell you about my second point, how expectations have shifted from performance to entitlement. Flexibility also changes how employees see their role in the workplace, and not always for the better. Previously, workers understood that rewards like promotions, bonuses, and recognitions had to be earned through consistent performance, not just because they are being present. But today, many employees believe that they deserve it, that they also have to have those rewards just because they are being present, not necessarily for bringing in results. This shift is subtle but very powerful. It reflects a broader culture where comfort is prioritized over contribution. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this entitlement mindset shows in many ways. Some employees now assume it's all right and it's fine to just ignore or skip meetings just because they find them uninteresting. And also, others expect to work on their own schedule and not for a company schedule, and might even make collaboration hard. And also, many believe that they deserve flexibility and freedom by default, not because they have proved themselves and proved that they deserve to have it, but because they think the companies have to adapt themselves to them. This is not just about personal preference, it's about a serious shift in expectations from responsibility and accountability to entitlement and convenience. Now, ladies and gentlemen, finally, let me talk about how leading companies are reversing flexibility. Perhaps the most telling evidence of all this is how most influential companies in the whole world, the ones that championed remote working in the beginning, are bringing back to the first place. So companies like Amazon, Apple, Google, and other major companies are calling employees back to the office. Ladies and gentlemen, why are they doing this? Because they have seen how flexibility, when unchecked, leads to reduced productivity, fractured team dynamics, and especially the lack of discipline. Ladies and gentlemen, our motion for the day is clear. Workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll take a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. Now call upon the second speaker from the opposing team to present a case. Madam.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As the second speaker of the opposition, I strongly affirm my team's position that workplace flexibility does not erode employee discipline or expectations. So today I'm going to talk about two main points. Number one is that workplace flexibility has increased employee job satisfaction. Number two is that core employee expectations remain constant irrespective of flexibility. Now, what do you think is the ultimate objective of employee expectations? That is job satisfaction. Whether they seek recognition, respect, or communication or career growth, what they are really pursuing is that sense of fulfillment or engagement or the well-being. So this is clearly explained in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs as employees climb from the basic physiological needs to the peak of self-esteem. It is the job satisfaction that becomes the core of all fulfilled expectations. Further, according to 𝐒𝐳𝐵's two-factor theory, he has identified motivating factors such as recognition, meaningful work, achievement as the core drivers of satisfaction, not the place you work or the time you work. So, where does flexibility come in? According to an article published in Sustainability Journal and International Journal of Industrial Engineering and Management, employees perceive flexible workplace arrangements as a form of valuing and caring for them from the employer, and that in turn has increased their employees' job satisfaction. According to an article published in Social Services Research Network, flexibility in job descriptions is no more something new. Employees expect flexibility to be embedded into organizations' cultures, and meaning that the concept of flexibility itself has become an expectation in today's environment. So further, according to Journal of Vocational Behavior, employees today expect flexibility to be embedded into workplace cultures, and employers who recognize and respect these new expectations have strengthened their bonds with their employees, and that in turn has resulted in enhancing employer job satisfaction. That is why companies like Microsoft, Spotify or Dell has moved into flexible working arrangements with short working weeks. In my second point, I would like to address the misconception that is being debated here that flexibility has somehow decreased employee expectations like clear communication, recognition, career development or compensation. Now, let's be very clear. These expectations remain constant irrespective of where you work, how you work, or the time you work. These are in traditional organizations also, employees expect clear and respectful communication, fair and visible recognition, opportunities for learning and development. So in summary, these are just a universal set of employee expectations enrooted in the human psychology, which are fulfilled by factors like organization's culture, its policies, or the leadership style, not by where you work, when you work. And according to studies done by Management University of Africa, Forbes magazine, the Pakistan Journal of Life and Social Sciences, Institute of Labour Economics, in their researchers have identified factors like leadership style, organization culture, its policies, market forces and government regulations are the factors that shape employee expectation, not the traditional work schedules. This is further proved through the study done by Stanford University, which states that hybrid work had zero effect on the worker's career development. Zero effect. The study also states that through flexible working arrangements, you can get that same level of mentoring, culture building, innovation that you really want. So the only area where workplace flexibility and expectations intersect is work-life balance. So that is the only expectation that will be impacted by flexibility. According to the International Journal of Research and Analytics Review, flexible working arrangements has a positive impact on the work-life balance, which leads to reducing stress levels, better well-being, and greater job satisfaction. According to the Journal of Resource Management and Decision Engineering, flexible working arrangements have increased job satisfaction mediated by improved work-life balance. And further, according to an article published in Social Science Research Network, flexible working arrangements have enabled employees to control their time, their place and the way of work in a way that it promotes healthy work-life balance, resulting in greater employee satisfaction. So I think I was very clear that workplace flexibility does not erode expectations, it actually respects them, helps the organization to make them in a modern and an adaptable way. So in conclusion, workplace flexibility is not a threat, it actually satisfies it actually increases job satisfaction through meeting employee expectations, which is work-life balance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take a moment for the judges to finalize. We now call upon the third speaker of the proposing team to present a case for the meeting.
Looking around this room, it is obvious that we are all Sri Lankans. And what is the one thing that actually unites us and gets us excited, or rather excited us? That, ladies and gentlemen, is cricket. Now, Sri Lankan cricket is a national sports body and can be considered as an organization. Now, if you have not been living under a rock, you know that Sri Lankan cricket is a joke. Our cricketers were given so much flexibility that it has eroded discipline and expectations. As a matter of fact, this is not my opinion, an article from the Sunday Times in August 2024, a cricketer was suspended for anti-doping violation. And according to the article, this is not just another scandal, it is a glaring reminder of a troubling trend within Sri Lankan cricket, the steady erosion of discipline and integrity. Now let's take a trip down memory lane. Let's talk about our schools, right? We were taught to come to school at a certain time, in a certain way, dress a certain way, study hard, and only then you will pass. This was the first place we were taught discipline. And I don't know about you, but my school was not flexible. They groomed us so that we can face the corporate world confidently, so we have discipline whilst also reaching our expectations. Because ladies and gentlemen, it is important. And if we look at countries such as the United States of America, and now I would like to rephrase on something our captain of the opposing team spoke about. You spoke about evolution. You said that this is not really about, it's about evolution. You mentioned the word evolution, right? So if you look at countries such as the United States, where workplaces have embraced flexibility, employee discipline is at its lowest. For example, imagine that you are an employer in the United States of America and your employee one day decides, you know what, I want to dress up as a cat or a dog. Now, according to the definition given by our captain, workplace flexibility, the employee gets to decide the how, the where, and the when they work. And therefore, accordingly, that request should be allowed. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not just an example. This is a fact. This is happening. We are living in that world right now where humans identify themselves as animals. And are we really going to say that this does not erode employee discipline? Another thing, let's look at Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Clearly, they have a very different mentality. They believe that they are entitled. They believe in everything but discipline. So my question to everybody today is, how far are we going to stretch flexibility? Is that not eroding employee discipline and their expectations? And if you look at the organizational culture, ladies and gentlemen, is an HR philosophy. Why do companies spend so much money on building a strong organizational culture? Because it is essential. Without culture, you do not have an organization. And this is relatable to all employees working remotely, which our second speaker mentioned. You said engagement, right? That is a part of one of the expectations. So if we look at engagement, look at your workplace. You are a living representation of your company. You mirror your colleagues. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you understand your culture, your rules and regulations. That is how discipline sets in. And that is also how you get engaged with the employees. How are you going to get engaged with the employees if you are at home working flexi hours or working from home? How do you expect your employees to be disciplined if they have no one to mirror to? And you might even say, you know what? We can track their progress. Let's introduce tracking systems, etc., etc. Do you even hear yourself? Tracking systems? So what you mean is you don't trust your employees, right? They're not disciplined enough. So you have to introduce tracking systems. According to an article by Harvard Business Review, the article titled, "Monitoring Employees Makes Them More Likely to Break Rules." In the article they say, monitoring employees will substantially more likely to take unapproved breaks, disregard instructions, damage workplace property, steal office equipment, and purposefully work at a slow pace, among other rule-breaking behaviors. As a matter of fact, today I stand here, I sprained my ankle just before I came, right? But I'm standing here doing this debate for my bank. Why? Because I work for them. You cannot expect that from a flexi working employee. Therefore, my position is clear. Our position is clear. Workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll take a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. now call upon the third speaker from the opposing team to present his case. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you give someone the freedom to choose when, where, and how they work, will they lose discipline or will they rise to the occasion? Two of my team members have already spoken and the evidence is pretty clear. They will most definitely rise. Before I start off with the rest of my arguments, let me start by rebutting a few things that were said by my opposing team. The captain and the second speaker spoke about inability to track accountability. I am here to say to you that you cannot use failed implementation and monitoring methods to disqualify the entire concept in itself. And the second speaker also spoke of an example where managers are finding it hard to believe, I quote, hard to believe, her exact words, that their employees are working, and equated it to the lack of performance. How can you do that? You have to show us facts and figures before you make such a bold statement. True discipline isn't dictated by the hands of a clock. It's driven by the strength of your will. And to prove this, first, let's look at the link between flexibility and satisfaction. Workplace flexibility, which comprises of compressed work weeks, part-time roles, remote options, job sharing, or unlimited PTO, delivers exactly what employees crave, which is autonomy, trust, work-life balance, a sense of control over their lives. And don't take my word for it. Here's real-life evidence to prove that. The UK's 4-day work-week trial. 92% of firms kept the policy because performance remained high and morale soared. Australia's Medibank found that flexibility boosts engagement, ownership, and resilience. McKinsey's global study, 87% of employees value workplace flexibility over nearly every other benefit. The HBR, Harvard Business Review, which they constantly quoted, in one of their articles, to raise productivity, titled, "To Raise Productivity, Let More Employees Work from Home." The author outlines a study done on 255 employees at a travel agency, where they found out that employees who worked from home were 13% more productive, took fewer breaks, and hear me out here, the opposing captain made a quite a contradictory statement to this. They had fewer sick days, mind you, fewer, and reported higher job satisfaction compared to their in-office counterparts. It's undeniable. Flexibility drives employee satisfaction. Now, let's turn to the heart of our case, discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood. It's not about waiting for orders. It's about self-regulating, taking ownership, and performing with consistency, even when no one's watching. And who are the best at this? Satisfied employees, because they're invested in the outcome. Let's back this with a little bit of science, shall we? A 2017 meta-analysis in the Journal of Organizational Behavior found that intrinsic motivation, which raises with satisfaction, is strongly linked to self-discipline and sustained performance over time. Research published in Personality and Individual Differences found that self-discipline is a stronger predictor of success, even more than IQ, because it promotes goal following, time management, and low impulsivity. According to psychologist Angela Duckworth, author of Grit, self-discipline is twice as important as talent in determining long-term performance. And guess what boosts self-discipline? Autonomy, trust, and respect. In other words, satisfaction, which the three of us have already proven to you to be an outcome of expectations being met by flexible working. Now let's put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Flexible working meets a key employee expectation, which is work-life balance, thereby delivering satisfaction. These satisfied employees are motivated and more engaged, and yes, more disciplined. Not because they are being watched, but because they are being trusted. And that's the deepest kind of discipline, the one that comes from within. which is even higher than the standard definition of discipline, which is given by our captain to all of you and also by the opposing team's captain as well. Well, the opposition may argue that flexibility creates slackers. But we ask, what kind of employee are you building if discipline only exists under surveillance? Real discipline, the kind that sustains performance for years, cannot be imposed. It must be chosen. Discipline does not die in flexible workplaces. It's just no longer dictated by fear. It's powered by purpose. And here's the truth. Self-discipline is not about being told what to do. It's about doing the right thing when no one tells you. It's about showing up when no one's watching. And flexibility is where that kind of discipline thrives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll take a moment for the judges to find this scores. Now move on to the fourth speaker of the proposing team. Over to you, Madam, to present the argument.
Good evening. The entire opposing team is based on a one single concept, which they showed graphically as well, which is work-life balance leads to satisfaction, and when employees are satisfied, discipline is there. I repeat, work-life balance leads to employee satisfaction, and when the employees are satisfied, they are disciplined. We don't need facts and figures for this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me ask you a very simple question. When you are satisfied, are you always disciplined? When you are satisfied, are you always disciplined? The best example is if you are drunk, you are satisfied. But are you disciplined when driving? No. We don't need facts and figures for that. And then the opposite team says work-life balance is the only expectation. Work-life balance is the only expectation. For a moment, let's say that is the only expectation for a moment. So we as the proposing team, we are saying that workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectation. Just imagine an employee in your workplace who's enjoying the flexibility is wearing some distracting clothes to work because it's a part of flexible workplace, and using some bad words to address others, and skipping meetings, skipping deadlines, using excuses. My question is, isn't that affecting your work-life balance? Isn't that affecting your work-life balance? Because who you are working with affects your work-life expectations, your work-life balance. And the third speaker is saying, it's not just about what they value. Right? It's not about what the employees value. Ladies and gentlemen, and he also says, when you have flexible workplace arrangement, there are sick leaves. Do we need further explanation? When let's say you are working from home, you feel something bad, you feel not well. Do you need to take a sick leave when you are at home? What do you do? Seriously? No. And then the opposite team has been saying so many things to prove their point. I will tell one by one. The leader said, as long as the work is done, as long as the delivery is back-to-back done, the concern is there is no concern. Meaning, you mean discipline is not that much considered unless the output is done. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not what HR is, that's not how we have been raised. That output is just about talent or just delivering it. Discipline, the way you deliver, how you work also matters. Also, they say, the sense of engagement or the employee view that providing workplace flexibility is for rewarding and caring about them. Okay, let me rebut all the points with these real-world examples. Ladies and gentlemen, this is from the Great Place to Work, and they say the workplace flexibility affects negatively the employee perceptions about fair promotions, as well as they are blurring the work from home and the home life and the work life, which is exactly your point, work-life balance. If you are blurring the lines between home and work, then where is the work-life expectations? And also, they say the employees who are enjoying work-life flexibility also have disciplinary issues, disciplinary concerns. This is what I am saying. This is the Great Place to Work article. Not only that, let me tell you sources from different areas. This is BBC saying that the employee discipline has been directly affected by the workplace arrangement. Not only that, Harvard Business Review says flexible work is having a negative impact on employee well-being. Remotely or full-time or part-time hybrid work, employees are experiencing more stress. This is the work-life balance that you're speaking about, right? So it is affected negatively. Flexibility in workplace has eroded employee expectations. And moreover, there are some researches, ladies and gentlemen, done by famous organizations, which is the Journal of Political Economy of Macroeconomics. They say time is spent on coordination activities as well as disciplining the employees due to workplace flexibility has increased because of this workplace flexibility arrangement, as well as there's this Chicago Institute says that discipline of the employees has been directly affected. So these are research articles, as well as, now let me tell you that opposite team says that we don't have facts and figures. Ladies and gentlemen, let me get into that one. From technological industry to banking to entertainment and to retail marketing as well as transport, there have been many organizations who are recalling their flexible work environments because they experience employee expectations as well as employee discipline has eroded. Let me give you a few examples. From banking industry, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, tech industry, HCL, IBM, entertainment industry, Disney, transportation, Uber, as well as retail marketing, Walmart. You can go and search for this one. They have recalled their workplace flexibility arrangements because they experienced employee discipline and expectations have eroded as a result of workplace arrangements. So our position is clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will take a moment now for the judges to finalize the scores. We now call upon the fourth speaker of the opposing team to present his case. Over to you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a dream. I have a dream that one day I will be driving a Ferrari in Sri Lanka, and I will be driving it from my workplace to my home. However, my dream ends there, because the road to my home is filled with potholes, and every single day, even though I buy a Ferrari and I own a Ferrari, I won't be able to go home at that rate of speed. Therefore, however, I keep getting this recurring sense from the proposition that I should change my Ferrari, instead of actually either taking a different road or else mending the road. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The entirety of the proposition's arguments have been based on a single perspective. Your execution of workplace flexibility, your deployment mechanism of workplace flexibility is flawed. Not workplace flexibility as a concept. Your execution mechanism is flawed. Your company delivering workplace flexibility to the employees is flawed. Your company cannot monitor effectively, therefore workplace flexibility is flawed. That is the entirety of the argument. We are not saying that the delivery mechanism is either flawed or impactful. We are here to argue that workplace flexibility as a concept, when deployed right, has not eroded employee expectations or discipline. And by this warped logic, especially of the third, especially of course, given the third speaker's fantastical logic, where she, ladies and gentlemen, associated workplace flexibility with a sprained ankle. How she has managed to do that, I will never know. She came with a sprained ankle and then she, however, managed that, okay, companies are she is of course disciplined and then still managed to come up for the debate. I do not know what on earth that is about. And then of course moving on to the third speaker's fantastical point, Sri Lanka cricket having discipline issues where certain players had been caught with doping violations. Due to flexibility, that is the fundamental basis of your argument. Are you suggesting that Sri Lanka cricket has been flexible enough for players to use weed and then drugs? Where is your fundamental basis? Then of course moving on, work-life balance. Work-life balance is met through meeting expectations. What did we say? We as the opposition had a clear-cut definition. We never said that work-life balance is completely generating job satisfaction. Work-life balance is the sole responsible entity for job satisfaction. We said that initiates and that brings about job satisfaction. That does not mean that job satisfaction is only brought about by work-life balance. The opposition clearly went in to say and prove and then show that work-life balance is an element of expectations. And the only element connected to flexibility is work-life balance. Nothing else. We are not saying that the entirety of job satisfaction is met through work-life balance. And then our fourth speaker confusing job satisfaction with individualized satisfaction. What you want to drink and then equate that level of satisfaction to job satisfaction. Where is your fundamental basis of your argument? We are talking about job satisfaction. We are not talking about the satisfaction you might gain out of drinking a bottle of cider or a beer. Completely different. Then moving on, the entirety of the argument is simply based on the delivery mechanism of workplace flexibility. The second speaker, contradicting herself. She specifically states that workplace flexibility is not a perception problem, it's an actual problem. This is why, in her own words. However, contradictorily, she goes on to say and cite a research which brings about, and then in her own words, where she says, managers find it hard to believe that workplace flexibility is bringing up. If belief is not a perception, tell me what is? She is at one point saying that workplace flexibility is not a perception problem. Then she is saying that, okay, she's talking about a perception itself. How can we prove a point by not proving a point? I simply do not get this. Then moving on, the proposition also is the second speaker, esteemed second speaker, seems to be very, very, very confident in saying that being present is an entitlement of the new generation, and therefore that equates to performance. Workplace flexibility never ever defines being present as a requirement. As opposed to measuring performance, as opposed to rewarding people because of being present, why don't you, just as normal organizations, reward performance based on actual performance instead of being present? Workplace flexibility, through the definition we very clearly stated, the concept of workplace flexibility is the degree to which workers are able to make choices to arrange core aspects of their professional and personal lives in order to attend their out-of-work activities. Out-of-work activities, ladies and gentlemen, where individual needs are considered an essential means by which an organization can achieve its goals. It's not just giving a free hand to the employee. This is giving the autonomy, not even the freedom, the autonomy, which is a higher level of freedom, to the employee so that the organization can achieve its goals, not so that the employee can sleep. Lack of tracking mechanisms, lack of accountability, everything goes to the deployment failure of workplace flexibility, ladies and gentlemen. It is not workplace flexibility. And the opposition has always stood by the stance, I stand by the stance, workplace flexibility has not eroded discipline or employee expectations. In fact, it complements it. Over to you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. As this brings us to the end of the original four speakers' arguments, and now we go into the summaries. Each captain will have 6 minutes to summarize. We will start with the captain of the opposition, followed by the captain of the opposing team. And now to summarize the debate, call upon the captain of the opposing team, 𝐒𝐻𝐴.
Good evening once again, adjudicators, judges, audience, and my fellow opponents. When you actually use something incorrectly, like you have air conditioner and you turn it to 35, and you complain it is warm, well, that is your mistake. It's ridiculous. You're not using it right. Same thing with workplace flexibility. If you don't use it with the right monitoring, right tracking that is needed, you're going to find it useless. You're going to find it dangerous. You're going to find it irrelevant. You're going to find it mismatching against your culture. Unfortunately, like my fourth speaker rightly pointed out, the whole argument from the opposition throughout, they quoted study after study, research after research, article after article, throw it to the floor here now. I ask anybody to come and pick it up and read it and show me a problem with the principal concept of workplace flexibility when rightly implemented. There is no problem. All the problems in those studies and articles have been about organizations who have not done it right. Every single thing. They also spoke about organizations that have implemented it and drawn it back. While we went into absolute study of talking about organizations trialing it and 92% continue, 92 or more percent continuing to do the same thing. So, if you're trying to talk about disadvantages of workplace flexibility, today is not the topic. Today's topic is tell us how workplace flexibility is eroding employee discipline and employee expectations. You have given us multiple instances of how employee discipline has eroded. You have given us multiple instances of how employee expectations have eroded. But unfortunately, audience and judges, none of them have anything to do with workplace flexibility accurately implemented. Now, before I go into the areas of what the opposition spoke on, let me take a look and show you again what our model is about. Workplace flexibility satisfies employee expectation by improving work-life balance. So we proved it, we went into absolute detail about it. When that employee expectation called work-life balance is met, we go on to achieve job satisfaction. Though we proved it systematically, it is also common sense that when somebody is satisfied, they are very well engaged with the organization and much more loyal than anybody else because they have a sense of fulfillment. They are satisfied. Satisfaction is a deep word. As a result of that, the tendency that they have to follow the rules and be disciplined is far more than the others. Hence, workplace flexibility in no way erodes discipline and in no way in the world erodes expectation because, like my second speaker rightly pointed out, an expectation of the modern day workplace is workplace flexibility. It's an expectation. How could it be eroding it? Come on. Then, going into the depths of discussing what is discipline. Now, that is a little confusing. Now, there was at some point, one of the speakers went on to say, comfort is prioritized over contribution. Flexible working is not comfort. It is flexible. We're just making the workplace flexible for you through the criteria that we discussed earlier. Probably you've misunderstood it is comfort, and that is why you go on to shamelessly say, when you're working from home, you don't have to take sick leave. Is that the culture that you believe in? I mean, that was their words. When you work from home, nobody takes sick leave. So what are they saying? Work from home, I mean, if you're sick, you don't have to report leave, you can pretend to be working. That is not discipline. If that is discipline, I mean, we are so sorry. That was never the discipline we were talking about. We define discipline, it is about behaving the right way. There was also another discussion about people who, Gen Z feels entitled, they want workplace flexibility. Not Gen Z, everybody wants workplace flexibility. A study comprehensively shows that when given the opportunity, almost everyone would take it. So if you're trying to decide a list of who deserves it, what is the basis of deciding who needs flexibility? That was never discussed, though you came up with it. Also, so many organizations bringing back employees back to work from flexible working. You never attributed to it is never been because of eroding discipline or flexibility. It could be any other reason. Poor leadership. It could be poor tracking systems. And again, coming to tracking systems, that's interesting. There was an interesting argument. If you are tracking your employees, then you don't trust them. Simple as that. Where is trust if you're tracking employees? Where is your trust? Okay, let's understand. Tracking not only happens when you're doing flexible working, my friends. Tracking happens every single time. What do you think your KPIs are doing? They're tracking your performance. Tracking a person's performance is an essential element in any workplace, regardless of the fact that if it's flexible or not. Everywhere you need tracking, you need measurement. Saying that you're tracking people only when they're working from home is ridiculous. You should be tracking them every single time, because you can never manage what you don't measure. Though it is not phenomenally important, I like to make a quote on the exact same thing one of the speakers said. Sri Lankan cricket is a joke. Exact same words, all of us heard it. Sri Lankan cricket is a joke. I do not know if you know Sri Lanka won the World Cup in 1996. They won the T20 World Cup in 2014. They produced the best left-hand batsman in the world. They produced the only non-Sri Lankan to be the MCC president, non-Englishman to be the MCC president, which all Sri Lanka cricket did. And if you call that a joke, I mean, I urge at least your captain to apologize and withdraw that. So our stance is very clear. Workplace flexibility has not eroded discipline, nor has it eroded expectations. It has just enhanced it. And all the arguments that they brought forward about any erosion was nothing to do with flexibility. So their motion must fall. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you very much. We'll take a moment for the judges to finalize the scores. To wrap up the debate for the proposing team, I now call upon the captain of the proposing team, Ojit sir.
Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. This is not just a statement. This is a wake-up call done by one of the leading American entrepreneurs and authors by Jim Rohn. Honorable panel of judges, respected fellow debaters and audience. At the start of our debate, we clearly stated that workplace flexibility has eroded employee discipline and expectations. Throughout this debate, we gave clear, simple, and logical explanations of our motion. Not only that, our team has peeled off the shiny label of flexibility and revealed the truth, which is the erosion of employee discipline and expectations as a result of workplace flexibility. Now, let me remind and recap few main points that our team made today. Number one, ambiguity in roles and performance expectations. Flexibility created confusion about what is expected from employees, make it harder to measure their success. McKinsey & Company has highlighted that without clear boundaries, roles become ambiguous and performance standards suffer. Number two, reduce accountability. When work is not closely monitored, responsibility slips away. Tasks get delayed and mistakes go uncorrected. Ladies and gentlemen, Gallup Workplace Reports has clearly emphasized that as a result of workplace flexibility has resulted in lowered accountability and lowered follow-ups when compared with traditional work environment. Number three, a decline in professional standards. Casual dress codes, optional meetings, and informal communications can lower the overall professional bar. Number four, a lack of employee development. With lower face-to-face interactions and structured reviews, employees miss out on important feedback and growth opportunities, which ultimately leads to erosion of employee expectations. Now, let me take you back to the COVID-19 period. Work from home became new normal. Suddenly our bedrooms became boardrooms. Our living areas became workstations. People typed good morning in the meeting chat while lying on the bed. Important updates were shared by someone while cooking in the kitchen. Ladies and gentlemen, those are not just my opinions and my personal assumptions. Those are clearly stated in New York Times newspaper. Now, the opposing team might say that workplace flexibility has not eroded employee discipline and expectations. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not just a guess, it's a shared experience. The truth is, we all saw the changes, boundaries faded, and standards dropped. So while flexibility opened the new doors, simultaneously it closes the doors of employee discipline and expectations. Do you still believe that workplace flexibility has not eroded employee discipline and expectations? And there's another thing. So the opposing team captain clearly mentioned that the erosion of employment and expectation has not resulted of workplace flexibility, but as a result of monitoring issues. Ladies and gentlemen, this Harvard Business Review article clearly mentioned that monitoring employees made them more likely to break rules. It seems that opposing team drifted a little off track because today the debate topic is about whether the workplace flexibility has or has not eroded employee expectations and disciplines. We are not stated throughout this debate, we are not stated that workplace flexibility has resulted suddenly and quickly to the erosion of employees' discipline and expectations. The topic is the eroded, which means the gradually becoming lower. We stated that as a result of workplace flexibility is gradually impacting negatively to the employees' expectations and discipline. And now, let's finally talk about the fairy tale that opposing team might believe, which is the workplace flexibility has not eroded employee discipline and expectations. Well, according to the 2023 study by Microsoft, it's clearly emphasized that 80% of managers said they are struggling to trust their employees as a result of workplace flexibility. In addition to that, the opposing team's second speaker specifically mentioned that workplace flexibility has caused to improve performances. But ladies and gentlemen, Stanford University Professor Nicholas Bloom showed that while people were excited at first, over time, their productivity actually dropped. Therefore, while the opposing team is being dreamy, we spoke the truth. Our position is clear. Workplace flexibility has eroded employee expectations and disciplines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And whilst the judges take a few minutes to finalize their scores and reconvene, we would like to announce to the two teams that you have all the flexibility to take as much time as you need to do whatever you like, provided you're back in your seats, that you have the discipline to be back in your seats in 3 minutes. Take all the time, that's flexibility, but 3 minutes. Right, so judges will move to the other room, finalize and come back, and we will find out who goes to the semi-finals. Final team to go to the semi-finals on Wednesday. Right, the judges are back, the verdict is in. To provide feedback before we announce the decision, we hand over to Dami. Over to you.
Thanks. First of all, I think let me congratulate both the teams for a wonderful debate. I think you are in for a super debate today, so congratulations to both the teams. Very positive comments from all the judges, and it was quite a close score, but obviously there's a one winner today, and the other team has to kind of come back and fight the battle next time around. So I think both the teams, the positives were the structure of the argument was nicely narrated. From the captain up to the final speaker, that structure was present. And then both the captains built an argument around the definition, and they narrated the argument in terms of how the structure and the flow would come. And especially we saw from one team, the rebutting were very good at an exceptional level. And that rebutting kind of gave a significant advantage to that particular team in terms of counter-attacking some of the arguments made by the team. So the debater role was very perfectly performed by that particular team. And also, we noticed the structure, even the proposing team, the structure brought in, and then the counter-argument built by the opposing team was done in a quite a structured way. And the models introduced were defended by theories and examples. And we saw lots of modern contemporary examples coming in from both the teams, multiple examples, which were kind of defining, re-arguing, building, validating the argument. So lots of positive we observed from both the teams, and it was a quite a good debate as a judging panel for us to go through. But the worst thing is there's only one winner that would emerge out of today, who would go into the next round. And today's winner is on high scoring marks, DIMO.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic debate, a fantastic evening. We now have 4 teams that goes on to the semi-finals. But before we conclude, a round of applause to Sampath Bank for reaching the quarterfinals and winning a fantastic fight today. And to the winners, DIMO PLC, a round of applause to them as well as they move to the semi-finals. Which team will go through the semi-finals to the finals? Join us on 21st. Wednesday, 21st of May, starting at 6 o'clock. Be there to witness the semi-finals as we find out who goes to the great HR debate finals. Will it be DIMO's? Will it be commercial? Will it be 𝐒𝐻_Connect? Or will it be 𝐒𝐫𝐴_MAS? Let's find out next Wednesday. Till then, have a good night and enjoy the rest of the week.